Your dog doesn't see you as human. Not really. And what you actually are to them, according to the latest neuroscience and brain imaging research, is far more interesting than anything you probably expected. For thousands of years, we assumed dogs saw us as masters, pack leaders, dominant alphas who needed to be obeyed. But modern science has dismantled that idea entirely. What researchers have discovered instead is something more profound. To your dog, you are not a leader. You are not a master. You are, in the truest neurological sense, their parent. Let me explain. In the world of neuroscience, few experiments have asked more of dogs than Gregory Berns' first attempt to scan a canine brain. The challenge was simple on paper: get a dog to lie perfectly still inside a roaring, coffin-shaped MRI machine for half a minute at a time. In practice, it seemed impossible. Yet, that's exactly what Callie, a rescued terrier with a streak of stubbornness, learned to do. Berns, a neuroscientist at Emory University, wasn't interested in sedating animals or forcing them into compliance. He wanted to see a dog's brain in action, awake and unrestrained, as close to natural as science could allow. The process started not in a laboratory, but in Berns' living room, with a makeshift tunnel lined in blankets and the steady click of a training device. Callie was taught step by step to climb onto a padded platform, lower her head into a custom-fitted chin rest, and ignore the clatter of simulated scanner sounds. Each correct move was rewarded with a treat or a gentle word. Over 8 to 10 weeks, Callie graduated from a cardboard tunnel to a full-scale mock MRI, and finally to the real Siemens 3T scanner at Emory, a machine built for humans, retrofitted for a dog's size and patience. The goal was 30 seconds of absolute stillness. For a dog, that's an eternity. But Callie managed it, and soon other dogs followed. The result was a breakthrough. For the first time, scientists could watch the living brain of a dog respond to the world, moment by moment. Berns later described the experience as a revelation, not just for science, but for anyone who's ever wondered what a dog is thinking when it looks at its person. The data that came next would upend a century of assumptions about dominance, obedience, and the real meaning of the human-dog bond. Inside the MRI scanner, the story of the human-dog bond takes a sharp turn away from old ideas about dominance and alpha status. When researchers delivered a whiff of a familiar human scent to a dog lying perfectly still, something remarkable happened. The caudate nucleus, the brain's reward center, lit up more strongly than it did for food, or even for the scent of another dog. On average, owner scent triggered a plus 0.42% signal change in the caudate, compared to plus 0.38% for food and just plus 0.15% for another dog. This is the same brain region that in humans fires when we anticipate something we deeply want. The implication is hard to ignore. To a dog's brain, the presence of their person is not just good, it is the best reward on offer. But why scent? The answer lies in the architecture of the dog's mind. Roughly 1/3 of a dog's brain is devoted to processing smells, a staggering 33% compared to just 5% in humans. Their noses are chemical supercomputers, capable of detecting concentrations as faint as a single drop in 20 Olympic swimming pools. That is up to 100,000 times more sensitive than our own sense of smell. For a dog, the world is a tapestry of invisible signals, and a familiar human's scent is the thread that stands out above all others. These findings have stood up to scrutiny. In larger studies, with nearly 100 dogs, the caudate response to owner scent remained consistent, confirming that this is not a fluke or a quirk of a few well-trained pets. The data point to a simple, powerful truth. Dogs are not just responding to who feeds them or who gives commands. Their brains are wired to find something uniquely rewarding in the scent of the people they love. The question then is not whether dogs know we are different from them, it is what exactly we become in their sensory universe when our presence is the sweetest signal their brains can find. Dominique Autier-Derian's work at the National Veterinary School of Lyon set out to answer a deceptively simple question. Can dogs actually tell a dog from a human or any other animal just by looking? This was not a casual observation, but a carefully controlled experiment. 9 pet dogs, ranging from a Jack Russell to a Labrador, were trained to pick out photographs of other dogs from a lineup that included humans, cows, cats, birds, and even reptiles. The challenge was more than just finding a familiar face. Across thousands of trials, with images covering 350 breeds and countless shapes and sizes, each dog had to reach a strict criterion: 10 out of 12 correct choices, 2 days in a row, for every possible pair. The results were striking. All 9 dogs passed the test. They consistently picked out their own species from a digital crowd, no matter how much the faces differed from their own or from the breeds they knew. The dog's success did not depend on scent, movement, or prior experience with certain breeds. It was pure visual recognition. This finding lands a direct blow to the old myth that dogs see their owners as fellow pack members or as some kind of honorary dog. The evidence shows that dogs are perfectly capable of sorting the world into categories: dog, human, other, without confusion. They do not mistake a person for a giant, hairless canine. The idea of the human as an alpha or pack leader starts to unravel here. If dogs can recognize that humans are a separate species, the question becomes more intriguing. If your dog knows you are not a dog, then what exactly are you to them? The answer is not found in dominance or hierarchy. It opens the door to a different kind of relationship, one built not on mistaken identity, but on something deeper and more complex. Lisa Horn's secure-based studies began with a simple question: what happens when a dog faces the unknown and its person is quietly sitting nearby? In her lab, dogs entered a strange room filled with unfamiliar objects: a puzzle box, a chair, a silent observer. When the owner stayed present, even without speaking, dogs explored almost twice as much as when left alone. Cohen's D for this effect lands at 1.1, a number that in behavioral science signals a powerful force at work. The owner's presence didn't just boost confidence, it acted as a kind of emotional anchor, mirroring the way a child might venture out on the playground, always glancing back to check for a parent's reassuring gaze. But the story deepens at the molecular level. Takefumi Kikusui, working in Japan, measured what happens in the bloodstream when a dog and its human lock eyes. After just a minute of mutual gaze, both dog and owner showed a surge in urinary oxytocin, 45% in people, 38% in dogs. This hormone, often called the bonding molecule, rises in mothers and infants during moments of trust and closeness. The longer the gaze, the higher the oxytocin, creating a feedback loop that strengthens attachment on both sides. In wolves, the same interaction changed nothing. The effect was unique to dogs and their people, a signature of domestication written in chemistry as well as behavior. These findings do more than challenge the old alpha myth. They reveal a partnership built on safety, trust, and a biological dialogue that echoes the earliest bonds of our own species. When a dog looks to its human for security, and the human feels a wave of affection in return, the relationship is not about dominance. It is about belonging. The science points to a truth that many dog owners have felt all along. To a dog, the person they love is not a master, but a source of comfort, a safe haven, and, on a hormonal and emotional level, something very much like family. 17,000 years ago, in a cave at Arala in northern Spain, a young dog was buried alongside a human. Archaeologists found their remains together, the dog's bones carefully arranged as if marking a bond that reached beyond life. Genetic analysis of this ancient canine revealed a genome already distinct from wild wolves, showing signs of adaptation to a human-centered world. This burial is not a lone curiosity. It is one of the earliest direct proofs that dogs and people were living, hunting, and sharing their lives as partners long before written history. Over 5,000 generations have passed since then, each one shaped by the pressures and rewards of close contact. Paleogenomics traces the divergence between dogs and wolves to at least 17,000 years ago, possibly even earlier, as far back as 30,000 years. The evidence suggests a long, slow selection for traits that favored cooperation, communication, and an uncanny ability to read human cues. The roots of today's emotional and cognitive connection stretch deep into the past, forged by millennia of shared survival. Dogs today are reading us with a level of nuance that science is only beginning to map. In 2024, a team led by Mariana Boros used EEG to peer into the canine brain as dogs heard words paired with matching or mismatched images. When the spoken word did not fit the picture, a word like ball followed by a photo of a shoe, the dog's brains produced a distinct electrical spike, an N400-like response that in humans signals the brain's surprise at a semantic mismatch. This is the first neural evidence that dogs do not just react to words as sounds, they process meaning, forming expectations about what comes next. Meanwhile, an animal cognition study found that dogs can tell the difference between real and acted human emotions. When owners faked a smile or sadness, dogs responded less, but authentic feelings changed their behavior. Less gaze, fewer jumps, even different rates of obedience. Juliane Kaminski, reflecting on these findings, notes that dogs treat humans as social partners, not just trainers. The science now points to something remarkable. Dogs are not only attuned to what we do, but to what we mean and how we truly feel. Right now, science upends the old myth. Your dog doesn't see a master, but something deeper. Gregory Berns calls it a secure base. Kikusui finds oxytocin bonds, and Kaminski shows dogs read our emotions. To your dog, you are not alpha, you are home. What will you be to them today?